24-second podcast. We are back, Drin. Tell them what we're talking about today.
Today, we're going to talk about Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks and why Arju and I believe that they're one piece away from contending from a championship. We see that this year might not be the year for them. They're definitely going to put up a fight. Again, no team is going to want to see them in the first round. And so we feel that if they make the necessary offseason, either signings or trades, that they can contend for a championship. Arju, get into the Dallas Mavericks so far, like what they have going, who their top scorers have been, and then we'll talk more about like what potential offseason targets they could have.
Yeah, Luka Doncic continues to improve, 20.5 points per game this year, 9 assists, 8 rebounds per game on pretty good efficiency, 49% from the field and 36% from three. Luka's been good this year. He's had to deal with injuries to Kristaps for quite a bit of the season, and they're still right there. They're the 5th or 6th seed right now. I believe, actually, let me check. They are the 5th seed in the West, which is really good, all things considered. And in terms of top scorers, again, you got Luka, who's obviously going to be their top scorer, followed by Kristaps, who's averaging 20 points per game. I think he can do better, though. Tim Hardaway Jr. is their 3rd highest scorer, with Jalen Brunson and Josh Richardson as their 4 and the 5. It leads to a lot of questions, right? When we think about Kristaps only averaging 20 points per game, I feel as though he can do better, right? Like he can up that still. And maybe part of that is because he's coming off another knee/leg injury, or we might just have seen Kristaps' peak, which is also another possibility due to all the injuries that he's had. But what are your thoughts on the top scorers?
I think when you give the top scorers, look, when they traded for Josh Richardson in the offseason, they weren't looking for a guy who's going to come there and score 20 points per game. They were looking more for like a guard defender. And that's what Josh Richardson has brought to every team he's played for. The Miami Heat, the Philadelphia 76ers, he was a good defender. But I don't think it's worked out the way that the Dallas Mavericks planned. And in fact, going through social media and reading through a lot of articles and stuff, it seems like Dallas Mavericks regret that trade. They wish they had Seth Curry now, especially seeing how he's been playing with the 76ers when he has been playing. I know he's been out a lot this season, Seth Curry, but when he's played for the 76ers, it really makes the Dallas Mavericks question why they did a trade like that. Now, keep in mind, by the way, Josh Richardson is he's still young. He's still a really good defender, and he can get off sometimes. But scoring wise, he should not be the 5th guy. He should be the 3rd or 4th best scorer on that team.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think part of it is just, that, Josh Richardson's in an interesting role this year with, defensively. He's supposed to be their best defender, right? Obviously, they have guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, who's supposed to be up there. Dorian Finney-Smith, by the way, is their 6th highest scorer at 9.8 points per game. And so what we're seeing here is we got 2 defenders, who are supposed to make a difference on that end of the floor. And I think, when we look at just Dorian Finney-Smith, it's okay if he doesn't score points as long as he's playing elite defense. For Josh Richardson, we need to see that offensive game, because that's how the Mavericks can take that next step that everyone is always talking about, right? Like, we know this is not a championship contending team, but we know that they're close to being one. And somebody has to step up. And if it's not going to be Josh Richardson, as much as I love what he brings on both sides of the floor, it's going to have to be, either through the trade market or free agency, which kind of leads me to our next point. What are some potential options this offseason, Drin?
So in recent seasons, we've seen how they've targeted names in the field of like Aaron Gordon. When the Wizards were playing really bad basketball, everyone was talking about how Bradley Beal would be a perfect fit in Dallas. That shooting guard who can give you 30 a night, because when Luka Doncic has a bad game and is not scoring, he's not having the best offensive game, right? The Dallas Mavericks are not a scary team at all. You can't say the same thing, though, when Porzingis is having a bad game, because when Porzingis has a bad game, Luka Doncic steps up and put what's the word I'm looking for? He pushes them to victory. And as we've seen in the playoffs last year, too, the Dallas Mavericks won a game against the Clippers without Porzingis. But my point is that they need another reliable scorer. And what I think the perfect name is Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton would be an amazing fit on the Dallas Mavericks, but we have to look at things from a realistic perspective too. And if the Bucks want to contend for a championship, I don't think they would give him away. Other names we've seen is Buddy Hield has been rumored there. There's been potential interest in John Collins. It'll be interesting to see this summer what these restricted free agents like Lonzo Ball, John Collins, what kind of contracts they get, and if their teams are willing to match those. But Buddy Hield is a good piece. He'll give you good scoring. I just wish they could get a slightly bigger guy like a Bradley Beal or Chris Middleton, because that would make the Dallas Mavericks one of the scariest teams in the league.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I think Buddy Hield again, like he's not gonna. I don't think he's enough, but what I think he will do is he will help in terms of your offensive efficiency, and so I think that wouldn't be the worst move in the world having Buddy Hield. Here's the name that I think is under the radar. This player makes a big difference on the court, even though his stats don't show it, and I feel like he would fit in really well next to Kristaps. Miles Turner. Miles Turner.
So they would give up Porzingis in a trade?
No. I'm saying if they're able to keep Porzingis and get Miles Turner, I don't know what they would have to give up, but
It would be very hard to convince the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, it would. Again, we could see, and the reason I say Miles Turner is because Kristaps doesn't like playing center as is, so you can play him at the 4, and Miles Turner actually has the ability to stretch the floor, and defensively, like he doesn't get enough credit for what he does. I would kind of like to see what that would look like. If you have Kristaps and Miles Turner playing together. Defensively, like that's a hard team. That's going to be a hard team to kind of score on. So I feel like it'd be
Turner is top 5 on the Defensive Player of the Year standings. So there's a reason for that, and I think he would help the Dallas Mavericks. It's just to me, I don't know how that would work out trade wise.
Yeah, it looks like.
So you think they should target more of like a defensive big who could stretch the floor?
Yeah,
I'm thinking more of like a shooting guard or small forward who can really score like guaranteed like 20 points a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you make a move for Miles Turner, like I feel like you would still have to make another move, but I feel like it wouldn't have to be like as big of a move as for like Bradley Beal. I'm wondering what you have to throw in though for a trade for Miles Turner, because also, I mean, the thing about the Mavs is they had their first round picks for the most part.
What if you give away Porzingis in that trade and somehow Porzingis and a few other assets? Like, would you do this if you were Dallas or Indiana? And by the way, I don't know how this works contract wise. That we're going off the top of our heads here. Josh Richardson and Porzingis for Karis LeVert and Miles Turner. I don't think the Pacers would do that.
Yeah, probably not. I don't know. It's hard because
I would like that fit in Dallas.
There was a report yesterday saying, there's some uncertainty in Indiana right now, and their head coach is on the hot seat. There's some things that could happen this offseason with a few teams who might just decide, hey, this is like enough. We got to blow this up.
Yeah. But overall, guys, we pretty much just think that the Dallas Mavericks actually. I forgot one point I wanted to make. The Dallas Mavericks this season, keep in mind there have been a lot of injuries. So like this counts. The Lakers have always been above 500, but they have also had Anthony Davis and LeBron James out for some of these games. But the Dallas Mavericks are 24-14 against teams over 500 this season. So I think that's really impressive for a team like Dallas. Keep in mind, like I said, some of those are against the Lakers, which they didn't have LeBron James, but it could be a slightly misleading statistic, but it's good to see that they're performing against the big teams. And actually, most of their losses, they're 13-14 against teams below 500. So I guess they show up against the big teams and kind of overlook the bottom teams. But yeah, any last words you want to say, Arju, about Luka Doncic and Dallas Mavericks?
No, I think you hit the nail on the coffin. I think we both agree that they're just one piece away, and it'll be interesting to see what they do this offseason. But yeah, let's move on to our 24-second Q&A period. Drin, I have my question for you.
I'm ready.
All right, cool. So, as of right now, the 76ers are the 1 seed. They're on a 5-game win streak. Are we not talking enough about Joel Embiid and the Sixers? Are we sleeping on them?
I think people are slightly sleeping on them. At the start of the season, we criticized them saying that we want to see them do it in the postseason. We knew that they would perform this in the regular season, and we just questioned whether or not they were good because at the start of the season they were only beating teams, really bad teams, right?
Hmm.
They weren't, every time they played one against one of the big teams they struggled, and I just personally feel like we are slightly sleeping on them, but at the same time, if Joel Embiid has a bad game, it's like the 76ers rarely win, and so they need critical performances day in and day out from Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Ben Simmons, and they've been doing that. Like, respect to them, they're the one seed. Like, you can't argue that. But I just want to see it done in the postseason,
That's
especially
fair.
after last year. I know Ben Simmons was injured, but if you got swept last year in the first round, you should go in with the mentality that like we're gonna prove everyone wrong.
That's fair. No, I'll give that to you. I'll give that to you. I mean, they gotta they're good, and I think they're slept on. But I feel like the postseason, it's the same thing with the Bucks. What are we gonna see come postseason time? And so definitely a great point there.
My question to you is in regards to the Indiana Pacers. You kind of touched on it. How would you describe the situation going on with their head coach right now, especially seeing as all those reports came out yesterday?
To be completely fair, I think when we're looking at the perspective of coaching, the Pacers have had a lot of injuries. Like just this season, they've had a lot of injuries. Now, in terms of his relationship with players, if it's not a good relationship with players and he loses the locker room, you kind of have to fire him at that point, right? Like if he doesn't have a good relationship with the guys in the locker room and the locker room's falling apart because of him, no matter how hard he's trying to keep it together, I feel like you have to get rid of him at that point. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this offseason the Pacers try to make some moves because right now they've just been middling like for the past like 5 or 6 years, they just keep middling. They're not getting the top elite prospects, but it's not like they're getting like a late lottery pick as well. It's just like a middling where they're not really going anywhere. And so I'd like to see them kind of try to blow it up this offseason or go all in for a championship. I don't want to see this like mediocrity where they're just there consistently.
I would love if they went into rebuilding, man. Imagine Sabonis on another team, Miles Turner on another team, Karis LeVert, TJ Warren when he's healthy, Malcolm Brogdon. Like, they actually do have a good lineup. It's just, unfortunately for them, they haven't been healthy.
It's a bunch of guys. Here's how I put it. It's a bunch of guys that are like tier 3, tier 4 players in the NBA. Like, like you got superstars, you got stars, you got like good players and then like above average and then mediocre. It's a bunch of guys who are just like tier 3, tier 4. That's how I
Yeah.
see it, at least. I
Yeah.
don't know.
You get your occasional like star, like you said, levels from Miles Turner and Sabonis. Actually, like, honestly, I might even put Sabonis in tier two. But I
Sabonis,
get what
yeah.
you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, Sabonis you can make the argument for tier 2, but I don't know about the other guys.
Yeah.
But again, they're all like they would all be great players on championship teams.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, that's our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed. And by the way, we want to thank you guys for the support in the last video. If you could just leave a like and subscribe to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, it would be much appreciated. We'll be back this weekend.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much and we'll see you next time. Peace.